Hello again. So let's go ahead and talk post-revolution. Um, this is probably going to be, in my opinion, the more interesting slide. Um, we have hi. We have a few different people that I want to focus on for this, and this is specifically the fates of Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin. Bye. So first we have Lenin. After they won the Russian Revolution, it was great. They were happy. The provisional government was ended, and then they had to find a leader. Lenin was the obvious choice. Unfortunately, Lenin did not live too long after the revolution. He died of natural causes. He had a stroke, and he unfortunately was not actually able to live out his dream and try to start the country he wanted. So we turn around and it comes between Leon Trotsky and Stalin. All right, couple quick things. If you're looking at the Prezi, Leon Trotsky looks like he's glaring in every one of his photos, and Stalin is petting a cat. It's great. I love it. So fun story about Stalin. Apparently, he loved his cats, and whenever he was asked what his cats' names were, he told them that his cats didn't have names. No one knows for sure why this is, but my favorite story that I've heard is that if he named his cats, that would imply ownership, and ownership was against communism. It's one of my favorite Stalin stories. It's great. But if you just look at the two pictures, it kind of leads to why one was picked over the other. Trotsky was very just to the point. He was smart, very strategic. But Stalin kind of started sneaking ahead of Trotsky just because he knew more people. While Trotsky was doing his thing and helping them win the October Revolution, win the revolution, Stalin was getting to know very important key figures. So in the end, Stalin was put in charge. Turns out Trotsky was just Stalin for time when Stalin wasn't, and was just taking advantage of everything as it came. I told you there was going to be a lot of puns. I'm sorry. I have trouble remembering things, and the puns, they're just always lending me a hand. Okay, I'll move forward. Anyway, fun story about Trotsky. This is one of my favorite stories. This happened. The student doesn't go to our school anymore, so I don't feel bad telling the story. One of the students was giving this presentation in class when we could be in class and not in our COVID-19 quarantine. But Trotsky, he gave presentation, and he said Trotsky came from a long line of rabies. His father had rabies. His father's father had rabies. But Leon Trotsky was his own man, and he chose not to have rabies. I raised my hand in the back of the class and go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I know, Mr. Schwartz, it's weird. I don't understand it, but that's what my research said." Show me your research. The word is rabbis. He comes from a long line of rabbis, not rabies. His father was a rabbi. His father's father was a rabbi. Not his father had rabies, and so on. It's one of my favorite stories. But that is something worth noting as well. Trotsky was Jewish. He renounced Judaism because communism, according to Stalin and Lenin, was very... religion had no play in communism. Excuse me. In religion, see, they kind of noticed that there were a lot of different factors in play when you looked at religion and communism. Religion talked about doing good to others and donation and charity. But in communism, we don't need such things. Everyone has what they want. Why do we need religion? Trotsky renounced his religion, uh, like most of the major players in the Russian Revolution on the Bolshevik side, and he just became a communist. That's just whatever he identified himself as. When he found out that Stalin was being appointed to take charge instead of him, he was very upset about this. He saw that Stalin was not leading the way the way Trotsky thought that Lenin wanted it to be. So he wrote a lot of articles, and he made a lot of speeches talking about how Stalin is not taking Lenin's teachings the right way, not taking the teachings of communism and Marx the right way, and he gets exiled. Stalin kicks Trotsky out of the country. See ya. And most people, whenever they're exiled, Lenin's been exiled, Stalin's been like, whenever you're exiled from Russia, you tend to go to Serbia. A lot of people go to Serbia. Trotsky, forget that. He's going to Mexico. He goes to Mexico, presumably has a lot better of a time there. However, he keeps writing letters into Russia. He sends them over. He keeps publishing them, talking about how awful Stalin is doing. And Stalin ends up sending an assassin to kill Trotsky. Trotsky is killed in Mexico with an ice pick to the head. Another fun in class story. When I said that in that same year, I believe, another student raises his hand and goes, "Mr. Schwartz, you couldn't possibly be stabbed with an ice pick." Why? What are you talking about? Trotsky couldn't have been stabbed with an ice pick. Ice doesn't grow in Mexico. After a short pause, he goes, "I just said something dumb, didn't I?" I'm like, "Yeah, you did." To his credit, Frozen, the first movie, had just come out. So I think that beginning scene of Frozen was stuck in his head, and he was thinking that's how ice was made. But anyway, that's the sad fate of Trotsky. He saw Stalin wasn't doing his work, or wasn't doing the job Lenin wanted him to, and the more and more he spoke out against it, the more upset Stalin got, until the point where he killed him off. In terms of whether or not Stalin did the job that he was supposed to, that will be talked about in the next Prezi slide. Thank you for listening. Of course, if you have any questions, let me know. And please make sure you check the other student presentations over Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin. They go into them in more detail. All right. Have a good day. Do good things.